town of the good, the bad, and the weird. You either live by the gun, or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And we didn't really fully plan on doing this in our last planning session. We just kind of stumbled upon our most recent, the MicroView we're recording right now. The Magic Christian.
We accidentally found this movie, and we read the description on IMDb, and we were like, oh, maybe. And then we saw who was in it, and we went, oh, okay.
Well, that's how we found it, was one of the actors in our next episode is, or not our next one, the next one is one of the actors in it, and we were curious by the name alone.
Yeah, because the name The Magic Christian does set up an idea, and it is weird because the movie starts off and you can kind of convince yourself that maybe you kind of see how this is going to go. You don't. No. You don't know where this movie's going. Yeah. I'm still so confused.
Let me read the IMDb synopsis because...
Please do, because it's also wrong.
Yes. It's partially right. The world's richest man and his adopted hobo son set out to test the limits of human vanity and greed through a series of quote-unquote money games.
Yeah, so the money games part really should have been bolded and underlined. Mm-hmm. So apparently, and I did not have time to find and read this, but apparently there is a book called The Magic Christian that someone on the cast and crew read, thought it was kind of a cool idea, brought it to pretty much everyone else involved in this movie, and everyone collectively went, ooh, yeah, let's do that. However, from what I understand after reading several descriptions of the book online and reading the quick, couple pages I can get a hold of for free via my public library, I'm under the impression that the book, The Magic Christian, is a, horror movie? Like a dystopian world where they discuss the implications of the worst of humanity and how, money can get you to do anything and,
like a Clockwork Orange a little
bit. Yes, much more like Clockwork Orange. This movie took that basic concept, money will get people to do anything, and then just really rolled with it. And also maybe rolled drugs in the movie.
Let me read the tagline too, and it might clarify how all over the place this movie is trying to be.
And it's crazy.
And it has a message. Mm-hmm. The Magic Christian is anti-establishmentarian, antebellum, antitrust, antiseptic, antibiotic, antisocial, and antipasto.
Wow, some of those words went together.
Yeah.
No. This movie is very much a movie by high people, and it is trying to be somewhat artsy. Yeah, a lot of drugs. We have melted our brains. We are now, though, also talking about and wanting to do an artsy interpretation of humanity and where we are going as a society.
Yeah, let me get into some of the people who are into
because I do think that will help you understand really why we were drawn to this movie.
So it's written by Terry South, Joseph McGrath, and Graham Chapman. Mm-hmm. It's directed by McGrath, and it stars Peter Sellers and Ringo Starr.
Yeah, that Ringo Starr.
And I know previously we have stopped going into this, but...
It is important, though, I think, for this one.
Yeah. I do want to mention that Southern McGrath also directed quite a few Beatles music videos, but they also did parts of Casino Royale, the James Bond parody, which is bizarre as hell, too.
Yeah.
Southern worked on the screenplay for Dr. Strangelove, Casino Royale, Barbarella, and was a writer on Easy Rider. Mm-hmm. And Chapman was a member of the Monty Python.
This was before Monty Python for him.
Yes, but Monty Python aired the same year.
Yeah.
Of which John Cleese of Monty Python also makes an appearance.
Yes. I would now like to name just a handful, because there's a handful of the people who are making an appearance in this. Dennis Price is in this movie for no reason. The one that stuck out to me was Christopher Lee, which, as we know, he will be in just about anything if it tickles his fancy. However, he is, and I quote, the ship's vampire.
And I think Christopher Lee was really the selling point for us on this one.
It was, because I love Christopher Lee and I love vampires, and his portrayal of a vampire has always been one of my favorites. This did not disappoint me. I was tickled pink by this version of a vampire. Jeremy Lloyd is in this movie. There's no joke, probably 40 names on this, all of whom have their own IMDb page and they are in this movie like for maybe 5 minutes each.
Yeah, they're all in big gags, but the part of what got us into this too was also just some of the character names.
Yes.
Mainly it started off with Yul Brynner, who's is the person that, how we found about this movie. He plays uncredited, and that's the thing, most of these people are uncredited, transvestite cabaret dancer.
Yes, I do love how there is a lot of people who are technically uncredited. However, these are not people who you would not know. They are people who on sight you know who they are. Yeah. And yet they are uncredited in this movie. Some other notable character names are, like, the main guy. His name is Sir Guy Grand.
Yep.
And his now adopted son is Young Man Grand. Like, these are bonkers names. There's a random man who I believe is one of the guys working on the ship named the Fitzgerald, which is hilarious because the Fitzgerald is a famous song and ship.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
We gotta also mention Lawrence Fagot.
Oh, yes, of course.
Spelled Faggot.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a
pompous tough.
And then one of the characters is just Lord at the ship's bar. Which I understand how, like, sometimes, like, there's, like, a background guy and you just have to name him after what he did. But, like, this is a full character.
Priestess of the Whip.
Which is, again, the full character. Like, that's her thing. Yeah. We went through this both on IMDb and on the Wikipedia page before agreeing to watch this movie and then, of course, review this movie. And I went both into that and out of this experience still confused, but I did enjoy myself.
Yeah. So, like, I get what they're trying to do with the movie. It's a very progressive,
it's very much a jab on
society, capitalism, consumerism.
Very much.
But it does fuck all for that too. Like,
okay, so if you have seen several of the other works of the director and the writer, and honestly Ringo Starr, you are familiar with the dark humor that they have. Mm-hmm. It is a very 70s druggy version of dark humor, where honestly it doesn't fit today's version of dark humor, but there is no other word for it.
Well, because it's also got, like, that little bit of attempted, like, pre-Monty Python flair to it.
It 100% has that pre-Monty Python flair. And there is quite a few things that do have this vibe. But as far as I could find, there isn't yet a name for this type of music video or movie or short film, even though we have a good collection of these, but it doesn't feel like it quite enough yet to name them anything other than just whatever it is they are.
So what it feels like, a little bit in a less funny way, of how, like, Gintama is a gag series. Every single one of these feels like a little bit of a sketch that some of the sketches try to tie in together and some of them are just kind of like there. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there are a couple ones that have some pretty cool, like, some fun moments of them playing war with a town.
Which is hilarious.
And
the yacht boat not having actually left is my favorite part of this whole movie. That's hilarious to me. But yeah, it has this dark humor. I do appreciate and like how it's pretty much just several large skits shoved together into the length of a movie. Because all of the skits do, in different ways, point at the problems in the world. And I do think that it did do that very successfully. It's very blatant and honest with what it is showing. Like, there is no holding back. Like, they are very blunt when they are talking about how, like, war happens in people's neighborhoods. It doesn't happen in an empty field. Or the rich are rich and don't even realize how, like, the world around them is working or operating. Or people will literally get into the filthiest, nastiest situations for $1. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the pacing of this movie is all over the place, too, because, like...
Oh, I love this pacing, though, because honestly, it kept my attention really good.
Yeah,
because if you looked away, you'd be so lost.
Yeah, I did warn you that before you start watching it, but, like, I mean, the movie is also part, like, musical at times.
No, okay, and I love the music in this. The music in this is all incredibly Beatles-inspired music, and they did that on purpose, because the big name for this movie was Ringo. His name is all over the front. His face is all over the front. And by this point, he was famous enough that people were like, oh my god, the Beatles guy. The worst drummer in the Beatles. Let's go watch that. Like... Yeah. So that is 100% what they're doing. This is not his first movie role, but it is, like... No. But, like, it is enough of... Like, he had enough of a name even in the film world that people were like, okay, I will see why he's there. So the choice to have the music be Beatles styled not only fits the theme, because the Beatles did have a lot of like similar say of like I'm gonna call them political topics, I guess. They had a lot to say about how the world worked, even though it was covered in like hippie flowers and shit.
Yeah, well, we won't
get started.
Movement.
No, we won't, because like honestly, that's a whole different topic, and it's a very long topic. However, some of the music in this it did surprise me, because I was like, okay, well, it's all clearly Beatles themed, but it's not the Beatles.
Yeah.
However, the main track of the film is Come and Get It, and it was written and produced by Paul McCartney.
Okay.
So, we were intentional here. The rest of the music was performed by Badfinger, which is a rock band from Welsh. And honestly, the music's good. I get that why, like, it is a different experience. It is giving very much like across the universe bullshit sort of vibes. But I think it fits, because I think they were like understanding of what, like, how people were taking themselves.
Yeah.
Like, they knew what they were doing.
Well, the thing with it is, like, it tries to be self-aware at times.
It's incredibly self-aware.
But, like, not in a fun way. Like,
it's like they know it, and they're like, but isn't this terrible? And you're like, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's like, well, we'll throw money at it. Because that's the thing. The whole movie, like, you're expecting the moment, and, like, granted, for me, dark humor and black comedy, I'm thinking of, like, The Menu or something.
Sure.
Or, like, In Bruges. But, like, this one is just...
There's no consequences.
No, it's just...
Which is also kind of the point of the movie, is, like, if you have enough money, there is no consequences.
No, and I get that, but it's just, like, it doesn't do it in a fun or interesting way to me. It's just a bunch of random, like, when I say quote-unquote games...
It is. No, it's like a game show.
Not even.
Like, little 5 to 10 minute episodes that could have been game show styled.
Yeah.
And, like, it is. It's a bunch of small skits that are tied together. And, like, they're not loosely tied together where you could, like, take each one individually. You do need to watch it as a whole, unfortunately. But because it is all, like, broken up into 5, 10, maybe 20-minute bits, the pacing of this is really weird, because each one has either a very high intensity or a very low intensity. There's not a lot in between. So you do get very violent whiplash in this film. But I don't really care, because, like, I don't feel like this is a movie you're meant to watch more than once. You know what I mean?
No, I have a feeling they meant you, like, you rewatch it to find the deepness in it. Like, don't get me wrong, are, like I said, there are some good stuff, like the hunting becomes war, which commentary on human nature turns tools into weapons. But that's the thing is, like, the commentary is not, like, poignant. It's just so far spread that, like, it's not like Doctor Strangelove, where it's 100% a commentary on American, with the war machine and the whole bullshit with, like, the nuclear arms race and whatnot. But, like, this one just tries to cover so many grounds, because, like, once he's adopted Ringo Starr,
which is in the first, honestly, just the credits, the opening credits, that's done.
Which is, like, 5-7 minutes long. Like,
it's a very long opening credit sequence, but I kind of enjoyed it.
In the first 15 minutes of the movie, we have Ringo getting kicked out of a park because he's sleeping in there. His dad finding him and adopting him. Okay,
I do like, though, the intro does do something that the rest of the movie doesn't, which is very cinematographic, where they have a, like, side-by-side comparison of Ringo's life and his soon-to-be father's life, because his father is the wealthiest man in the world by, like, a long shot. And he wakes up and has caviar on toast, and Ringo's getting poked by a policeman to leave the city park.
Yeah.
Like, I do like the juxtaposition there, but then we, like, throw that out the window the second he signs that paperwork saying, "This is my son."
No, not even that. Because, like, up until, like, that 15-minute mark, after that, we go to a Shakespeare play that, while having a quite expressionist
thought this was hilarious.
It's a striptease show, which, I mean, it's...
Well, okay, but here's the thing. It is implied that everyone was not informed this was a striptease show, which is so funny to me, because it ends with, like, a giant neon light show, and, like, them carrying Hamlet away above their heads. Because it's 100% just the ode to the skull lines from Hamlet.
Yeah.
But with a striptease overlay. And it tickles my fancy, because also we haven't, like, that's the first scene. It does blatantly just dunk you into cold water, because, like, you weren't ready for this to be a weird movie. The adoption scene's a little strange, but, like, not that strange.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, striptease Hamlet. Okay. And then we jump from there to, like...
him firing the rest of the company, pretty much.
Yeah, which, again, like, this movie does, to an extent, ramp up the crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, we do go from, like, okay, well, this was a surprise striptease show. We didn't know it was happening, theoretically. Now, looking back on it, I imagine that the dad did know, because he's a patron of the arts. The sisters did not. The aunts that he's there to meet, they did not know what was happening.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is just, like, how people... It's just so stupid where, like, people are, like, the rich are looking for an heir. The company's called, like, Graham and Son.
Yeah, and he never had a son.
Yeah.
And he's also apparently not married, so, like, where was... I have questions. But also, like, I don't have questions, because we skip from that very quickly. I do think that... So, famously, Ringo is not an actor of many faces. He kind of just is Ringo Starr in all of his performances. And I'm okay with that, because at that point, he is just a famous guy. It's kind of like Elvis, right? Like, Elvis was just Elvis in all his movies, and that's okay. We weren't going to see an actor. We were going to see Elvis. I'm here to see Ringo.
Yeah.
But in this instance, I do think it works, because he just plays himself, and he only has, like, 5 lines throughout the whole movie, and all of his lines are like, well, what is our business, father?
Wait, he's the narrator of Thomas the Tank Engine?
Which one? There's been a few.
Thomas and Friends.
Oh, I was not aware.
From, like, 2010.
I know he's been in a lot, but it's kind of like...
No, he was the narrator for the US and UK for Thomas and Friends from 84 to 86.
You know what? Good for him. I was not a Thomas child. I'm not gonna lie, they scared me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not a Beatles fan. Surprise, surprise.
And honestly, like, I do feel like this was one of the few movies that a later Ringo starred in where we were pulling the Beatles string. I know later on, like, it was more just Ringo. It was less Beatles. Mm-hmm. This movie, though, was 100% playing off of you knowing these famous people's faces. There's a lot of famous people's faces, and they are listed uncredited, or they are in it for a whole 5 minutes, and a lot of them are playing their stereotype. They are playing a war general, they are playing Dracula, they are playing the sexy lady with the whip. Like, they are playing the thing they've already played.
Yeah, none of it really works for me. Like I said, like, there's some little, like, I like the little subtle humor that they have, where it's like, their helicopter pilot being named Pontius.
It is funny.
Because he's Pontius Pilate.
Yeah, that's funny.
But, like... all the other stuff, like with the hot dog vendor, like that whole scene doesn't work. Or like
it does not.
The rotating Asian men in the one cab, and then we'll show him the world. We'll show him experiences that will make him question his life and the world around him. And it's just like flashing lights in a dance for like 2 minutes, and then he gets carried off by Nazis. It's like,
yeah,
what the fuck does any of this mean? Like,
no, what the fuck does this mean is honestly the punchline of this whole movie. It very much feels like it was a movie written for a specific group of people, and we have not taken enough acid to be in that group. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
it's not specifically a drug or acid movie. Let me get that clear. Like, none of the visuals are, like, trippy. None of the music is trippy. None of the themes are trippy. However, there is a certain level of brain frying that I do think it would be necessary to, like, really consider this a deep movie. Because it's not a deep movie.
No, there's only a couple, like, things you can probably pull out from it. Like we said, the commentary on the frivolous lives of the rich. There's a little bit of commentary on, like, tradition can change with enough money, with, like, the heart races between the two schools.
Oh, no, I think all of the points that this movie brings up are valid points to talk about. However, again, the longest a bit has is maybe 20 minutes. And that's, like, a big bit. Like, the rest of them are, like, 5-10 minutes. And none of the bits, none of the topics that are being brought up in this movie are groundbreaking. No. In fact, I would honestly argue that they are very bland and mediocre takes. Like, most people would agree that war in a neighborhood is bad. Yeah. Like, we do not want that. Most people would agree that, yeah, it is sad that people will do anything for money. Yes, it is sad that the richest man alive can get out of anything because he can bribe every cop. Like, yes, these are topics that people already agree about, and none of this is being done in any new light. It is not being shown in a new way.
No.
The visuals and the ideas and how to portray them are kind of cool, but because you are being constantly barraged with them, you do not have time like the writing and the script do not have time to make them any deeper or any more meaningful. They are as shallow as it is.
But not at the same time. It feels like they're trying to do like some surrealist attempt at a movie, but
there's nothing surreal though.
No, because everything has some type of stupid meaning they've added in. Like, I'm sure the random gorilla in running around the ship at the end has some meaning.
Yeah, it does, because they were upset that there was black people on the ship. Yeah. It's racist.
Yeah.
But again, it's not doing that bit. It's not doing that in a different or impactful way. But like, you get it for 5 seconds.
And here's the thing. I don't think that is that bit, because right before it, like the scene where that gag happens is way after they make that remark, because that remark is made before, where it's got a little bit of homophobia in it, where
That's true, and then there's like random strip guys.
Yeah.
Like they just show up at the cruise.
But also, why is he disturbed by this when he was fine with the striptease Hamlet?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's art.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I feel like the movie is trying to say, and I'm not necessarily mad or upset about any of the topics that it's trying to say. I just don't think that it spends enough time on any one particular topic to have a deep conversation. Essentially, we are shown a slideshow of things with, a reimagination of what that looks like, and briefly gone, isn't this terrible? And everyone nods and goes, yes, terrible. Yes. And then we go to the next slide.
Yes, Chris, tell me what the topless row women have to do with this movie. Yes, I like it. That's a fine scene. But what? Why? Like,
there's a lot of things it could be, but we didn't spend any time in there.
No.
Like, I know who some of the actresses are. I know kind of maybe what the scene could be about. I can make some infers. But again, the scene is honestly really short. It's maybe 5 minutes.
Not even. Like, it's...
And that's like from scene start to scene end.
Yeah.
Like, it's not enough time. None of the characters, like, we don't have... Like, the only characters who are in more than one scene are our main two characters, the rich man and his adopted son. And neither of them are upset ever by any of this.
No.
Because it's all they're doing. This is their play world. But we don't get to see the rest of the world. We don't get to see how they interact or feel about this. There's no emotion for the audience to feel. There's no normal character in this to be the straight man.
It's just a play on Shakespeare saying the whole world's a stage.
It could be, but we don't see a stage, so it does make it difficult.
Because the world's the stage.
Sure.
Yeah, it's real dumb, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a reason why, like, when we talk about movies that have these deep, like, topics, it's generally one or two topics, and we've really dug into it, and then we have something to discuss about, whether that be the solution the movie came up with for the topic, or even just the horrors that are being, like, more realistically portrayed. This one doesn't even do black comedy very efficiently. Like, again, this movie is so fast-paced that I don't have time to giggle at Dracula aboard a fake cruise ship.
Yeah.
And, like, honestly, that's one of the best bits in this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just not much to it. I mean, even the name The Magic Christian
is a mislead.
Yeah.
And it's intentional.
It's the name of the ship. Which,
according, like, from a tiny bit of research I was able to do on this, because, again, this movie doesn't have a lot to go with it. My understanding is that the book, which is what this is named after, is also named The Magic Christian. It's named after the cruise ship in the book. And it's my understanding that the cruise ship has much more, like, plays a bigger role. But it's one of those things where, like, this movie hits so many points so quickly. It's over, it's done. And by the time you get to the punchline of, oh, the cruise ship is named the Magic Christian, it doesn't matter anymore.
No, because, like, we don't even get that until, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and even then, like, again, like, there's barely a cohesive bit to this. So, like, you don't realize the movie's over until it's done.
Money's the cohesive bit, because it ends with them chilling in the park and getting Poke to, like, leave in the middle of the day, and just hands him wads of cash, and it's like, oh, yes, sir, you can sleep here anytime you want.
Yeah, fuck the rules.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, it is disappointing, because I do enjoy just about everyone in it. The music is honestly pretty good, and I can get why certain people are in this movie, and why they'd be behind this movie. But there is nothing, like, there is no topic for us to discuss. And not just us. There's no topic for anyone to discuss. I tried to look up more information about this movie, and other than a handful of people also talking about what we just talked about, there's not more to go off of. There's not a director's commentary that really can give me any insight.
No.
None of the cast or crew really had any deep information or even like druggy, insightful, like, whoa, wasn't that trippy, man? Like, there's nothing. There's not like a deeper behind the scenes thing.
Yeah.
And even they admit, like, the book that they were all really psyched about, half of them didn't read.
Mm-hmm.
Like, majority didn't actually read.
It feels like they took the one little scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail about the government from the farmers complaining.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
Granted, that movie came out way later than this, but like taking that idea and trying to attack every single bit of society as they could. And it's just, but not attacking it in like a very poignant and comedic way.
No.
Just tackling it through absolute overly absurd situations that make no sense.
This would have been a better music video.
Yeah.
This would have been a better music video. Which is upsetting, but true. There's just too much happening all at once and there's nothing to discuss. There's nothing to talk about with this one. And that's kind of sad because I did actually enjoy myself.
It's not on the same level of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No, it's really not. It's honestly like there's a lot of movies that kind of fit this visual vibe or this styling. And most of them I also like generally don't care for. They're just not my vibe normally, but like at least those ones I could, like if someone did like them, I could try and have a discussion about. There's nothing to talk about other than the cast.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's only because there's like 100 people in this movie.
Yeah, if you're going to give me some type of commentary, dark commentary, give me something like I've mentioned before, The Menu or Calvary.
Honestly, anything. Like, again, we were just given slideshows of things that are bad, and we all nodded along.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Chris, rent, buy, stream, or decline that we ever watched it despite having an audio recording of us watching it.
I would like to inform everyone that this movie is free to watch on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where you should watch it. I'm making my friend watch it right now, actually. I texted her on my way here and told her to do so. This movie is a good time. I did enjoy watching it. I'm never going to watch it again, though.
No, I'm glad.
I'm not mad I watched it, but I also don't have anything to say about it.
I'm glad it's in my repertoire to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Stream it. It is free right now, as far as we know. Who knows? There might be some dumb resurgence of it that they take it off.
I am going to look at this movie and all its UK glory, and I'm going to put a little bit of money down and say that nobody is coming for this.
No. But if you do want another Ringo Starr movie, I did watch another one that I stumbled upon called Caveman. That is actually quite entertaining. It's him and Dennis Quaid playing caveman. It's the second caveman movie that I've come across that they don't have like any real dialogue.
Yeah, which I kind of like.
And this one's much more funny than the world that, or the land, or the creatures the world forgot.
That one. Yeah.
So
yeah, like I'm not mad that I watched this. I am going to enjoy. Like, it is a fun one to say, like, oh my god, did you watch that hot mess?
Yeah.
But then, like, if you're looking for a movie that is like cynically talking about the problems of the world, or even a like good blackface or not blackface.
There's no blackface in this movie,
as far as I could remember. There was a lot happening.
If you imply the gorilla happened,
again, there's a lot happening. I didn't manage to look it up.
I think the gorilla's just like
he might just be in the movie.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, but no, sorry, a black comedy, or even just like a movie that is trying to depict, you know, a more like hippie sort of narrative. This is not it. But if you're just looking to like melt your eyeballs for a while, this'll do it.
Yeah.
This'll do it.
It is something else. I'd rather watch Jodorowsky.
Sure. No.
Fondo Yulise.
Yeah, 100%. If you need motivation about, I don't know, 45 minutes into the movie, there is 40 naked women rowing a boat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Or you can just skip to that, and I mean,
yeah,
but there's better out there.
There's better. Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset I watched it. I am going to make a very select people watch it so that we can like bitch together about how just bonkers that was. But I'm never watching this again.
No, same. But anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, the Weird MicroViews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird.
We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.